Today we learned the concept related to in-memory service and database service. Means simply how we save the data or we get the data from the list in memory or direct from the database. Before that, first we make a project from Spring Starter. We may name the project anything whatever you want, and the type for type which type you want to select. I select simply Maven, and the Java version is 17. By default it is selected, and package I define com.binary. This is the folder layer or folder where your controller entity or anything is created. And description, what description you want, just give. And second one, select all the dependencies. I think in this type only one dependency is required, but for simplicity or for easy to use, I add another dependency which is dev. Dev tool is helping. If you save any changes, then by default it reload the project. If your project explorer is not visible on in left hand side, then you can simply add by clicking Windows, then shows you here the pom.xml where all the dependencies is added, which I added. And first we make a controller, student controller, and the package student controller is in package of controller. uh, if you want to make REST API or web service anything, then you need to annotate controller with REST controller. And Before write anything, first we check is this project is running. Not, yes, I can run, then check this application is running on port 8080. And if you want to run on another port, then you can add in application.properties file. Now you can check on browser localhost 8080 API. This is the URL which you define in controller. Here I return null, but I think uh, I return I simply returning null. I return something in a list. But I think we make first we write all the logic and then return in list. This is the best. So now I simply return null and make another method for saving the student in list. And this annotation is type post. URL is same because forward slash then students simply list all the student, and this URL is also for saving the student. For saving we also return as a JSON. We take response entity because when you saved the details and we want to reflect all the details same. So after receiving after receiving the details in server, then server return all details as a JSON form. After I before write all other logic, first we write service for the student. Student service is just is like a uh, it's like a what we say, it's boilerplate where all the methods are written. And for service we make another package. So name of service I take as a class, but it's actual is a type of interface. So we change class to interface. Define all the methods here. First method is for find all students and return as a list. So we take public and type of list, and this list have all the students. Second one is for save the student. Type is object, so we take students of student class. Third one is if we want, and if you type in URL any email which is saved in database or in memory, then we want return all the details related to that email. So we make a method for find by email, and another method is for updating student. But if the student is not updated and something happens, then we want throw some exception. But currently I'm not make any exception. First I make another method for deleting student, and this method returns nothing, so method type is void. And this method is also thrown some exception. Exception is mainly for if your code or if your logic is not behaving correctly, so in that case we throw some exception. And for exception we make another package exception, and here we write all the exception related to this project, and we make a global exception also, which is handling globally too. And this student exception extend class which is exception. Then make a constructor, and constructor receive argument of type string. Here we write or we give details of exception, and then after making this student exception we make a global exception. In this directory. Global exception annotated with REST controller advice. This annotation is used like handling for other exception. It's like a mapping handler. Yeah, and then we make first exception for student exception handler, and this method is also written as a JSON, and we take as a error detail. In error detail, simply we write status, message, all the things. But before we write all the scenarios. This student exception take argument as a student exception, and second one is web request. It's like a web request is like a generic interface. Now we make array detail class. Array detail class have three methods. We define later, but first we return student exception handler. Error detail take 3 arguments. First one is error, second one is message, and timestamp. Sorry. You can write here also, you make constructor from here also, but right. So now I go in error detail class and make those fields. First field is for error, and error type is string. Second one is message. Message is also a type of string. Third one is time, and I take time as a local date time, which is come from java.time package. And now make a constructor, super constructor or default constructor. Next one is field constructor, constructor using field for formatting. No, then take getter setter for getting or setting the fields. Now format your code, then save and return. Now common student exception handler. Now I return this exception as response entity with errors and HTTP request. Here is error and HTTP request is bad request. If you use student service in controller, it's like a dependency injection. And in a Spring Boot, you can inject through constructor, through annotation, or if you're using Lombok, then you can use Lombok for dependency injection. I write auto-wired simply. This auto-wired is used for dependency injection, or it's a loosely coupled. If you search the definition of a Spring Boot, then here where you can find the Spring Boot is used for dependency injection and type of loosely coupled. Third method is for which one? Find by email. And find by email, first take a variable. This variable is come from URL. And in path variable, if you mention your path variable and define the string, then this string is matched from your mapping. And for sake of another errors, or prevent from another errors, till now I can simply return as null. Here I write find the student from service and return response entity as a new object, and return the find students and with the HTTP request. Status code is accepted, and annotation type is get method. This method type is get, and URL student, then your email. This email is matching for your path variable. If you don't define email in path variable, then we should take this type as a string, then this name is matching exact same from your get mapping. So we can write, we till now we write method for post, get, and find for email. And next one is, next method is this returns as a API. Why this method returns API? If your method returns, if your service or method returns nothing like void, then you can simply return as a API. But before we write a method for update, then after. So this method is for update student, and this return as a whole student. But now, for now, we return as a null. We get all details from body, so we use request body annotation as an argument. In service class, we have a method of update, and this method throws some exception. So here we also throw exception, and for returning, we simply return as a JSON. So take response entity and then updated student and with the status code. Our status code is okay. And for annotation, we use put mapping. Put mapping is used for updating. Whenever you want to update from the URL, then you use update. Here you can notice that we use MVC pattern because Spring Boot is already a MVC framework. And another method is for delete. Delete for what? Return null. First we return null. And here you can check I use API response, but till now I don't write any class related to API response. And same for get mapping, we get email from URL. Here also in a delete we can delete with the help of email. First we find details related to emails, then we simply remove all the details from list. And annotation here used, we use delete mapping. Now we make a class API response. In API response we simply define message and status. Make another class with another package, and the package name is response. First we define variable message type of string. Second one is status type of boolean, and then make constructor and getter setter. If you use Lombok, then Lombok is reduce your boilerplate. Don't make this constructor or getter setter. Simply use Lombok annotation. For deleting a student, we have a method in student service. The type of method name is delete, and we accepting in as argument email. And after deleting the student, we send response. And response, first we make object of response, API response, then set message. How you set the message in API response? With the help of use of getter setter. So the res.set message, then type your message what you want to deliver to your front end user or end user. Second one is status, giving the status is true. This also throw exception. So at throw declaration, and return this API response as a response entity with the status code. In response entity, you pass API response or leaving as a null as you wish. So a status code is created. Till now we define all the methods related to CRUD. Now make another class for implementation, means implement all the service methods. You can write all the logic related to save, update, delete, anything in this class also, but you make this interface, so we make another class which implement this service. So it's like a what, hide your code which you learn in oops. So this class is implementing student service, and this is student service implementation annotated with service, and override all the methods which is written in student service. First one is find for student, second one is save, then find by email, update and delete. Before that we get what, student DAO. So now we make another class name of student DAO, where you write all the logic related to this implementation methods. Now we make another package in com.binary with name of DAO, and this DAO is annotated with repository because it's behave like a repository. First method, first we take a list, and make this as a final list of type student, variable name I name in caps, student salary not, I think this name is not suitable, so yeah, I write in a caps and make array list. Now you write all your methods for getting, saving, updating, deleting. First one is for find the student. Simply return the list. To find a student which you saved in a list, simply you return in here. Second one is for save, for saving a student. Saving a student means saving in list, saving details in list. Then how you save? Simply add all the details which you're getting from front end till as it is adding student list and return them. Third one is find by email, and this method accepting argument email. Find by students from list. I use stream. First we filter from student. We check that email which we getting from as argument is equal to looping or loop checking from all emails which is present in student. So yeah, my method is not returning because here I don't write variable name email, and we can also write email in constructor. If you're using getter setter, then constructor parameterized constructor is not useful for you, but sake of use or for structure you can also define here. Now I get a setter for email. So now you will be able to get student. So on email first we run stream, then filter them all the student and check that existing email is equal to the, and it's equal, then get the first object, otherwise it return null. And next method for update, this method throw exception. First make a variable where we assign where we getting index, and how we get index by applying a string. First we get index from range, from list size, then filter them, and here again we check equality, and then after find by first if matching, otherwise return -1. I return -1 because for comparison in if condition. And return, before returning first I check if the student index is greater than -1. If the student present Then I will run on a list, but simply updated those details in existing list, and then return the student. Returning in if condition, because if not return the student, then that case I simply throw exception that the student not found, not updated. Next method for delete. This delete method also throw exception. First, we get student list from the email with the help of email, and if the student not null means fine, then simply remove the details from the list, student details, and return nothing. And if not means student is equal to null, means student is not found. So through exception, student not found in list. Now we can all the logic which I written in student DAO is simply in student service implementation. First method for find all student. For finding, before finding we make this variable as a final, and if we write if we make any variable final, then we make constructor and passing the variables in constructor. This is for the dependency injection with the help of constructor. Now, now for save, simply call the student.save method, and for email, student.now find by email, and passing the email as an argument. For updating student.now, call the update method. and to delete, call the delete method. I think we write all the methods related to CRUD like save, update, delete, find, and till now I don't make this as a table because simply we save in a list or like in a memory. So I think now we can check Postman. Now run your project. I can see there is nothing error showing on console. Open your Postman and for get method type your URL localhost 8080 then API v1 and for get method students. Then if I click send, there is nothing because my list is empty. So first thing is before getting, first you need to save in list. So this is the field which you pass on from the front end, first name, last name, email, date and age, which is written, which you define in student class. First name, last name, date, email and age. If I send, and my status is 200, okay, means running fine. Okay, now check. But after clicking there is nothing, no result is shown. Why? Oh, null. Because save student, in save student I returning simply null. I call the student service. First I get request body from front end, all the details, get all the details from front end, from body, and annotation request body is helping me, and this relate to the student class. Now I can call student object, save to student as a variable name, and call student service, and method name is student for saving, save student service dot save. Now return save student, but as a JSON form. So I returning as a response entity, and first argument is save student, and with the status code is created. Now if I check, first I show you, if I post, then yes, my response is returning as a JSON form with all the details which I saved. If you hit click get method is return empty because here I nothing return anything. Now it's time for get method. Get method I write as a list import from Java util list as a form of student name variable name. I assign this list as a student list and call the student service method dot find all student and now return all student list as a response entity. If you don't want to return as a list, then you simply send as a response dot OK. But I want to return as a list, then first argument is all student list, then second one is with the status code. Status code is accepted. Again, first we can post because it's saved in memory. Then if you get all the details, if I save another detail, another one, here you're getting all the three details. Registration form. Now next for get from email. If I want to get detail from email, then it's showing me 404 means server error. Why? Page not found. Oh, sorry, page not found. Yes, because my I think yeah, my URL is not matching from front end, so it's showing 404 page not found. And again, first we need to save. And if I want to result from this email address, then I will get the result. Now it's time for put. Test. I want to just update this result. I want to change last name is another name. Again, 405 method is not allowed. Simply I pass student object. My code is working, but now it's giving me something related to internal server error. Why it's giving me server error? Student not found. Means I receiving body is don't matching. Is not matching. It's not matching. Why? My URL is I think my URL is right. V1 students request entity student request put method is not supported. So this method is not supported. Update. Yes, here is all right. I check in now. Student update. Student not updated. It's giving me student not updated for exception. There is no issue. 500 is internal error. Student not updated. Keep throwing me exception with the student not updated, which I write. If my student is not updated, then give me some exception. And it is giving me. Then where is the problem? I received student from the body, first name, last name, and email, and then call the update method in service. Okay. Okay, now we check for debugging. First to debug the code, first close the server, then again run as a debug, and I set breakpoint on line 57. And if I this time I get as a null option because again my list is empty. So student only I get email, first name, and last name from body. I also add breakpoint here. I resume. I start the server. So it's giving me port 80 was already in use. So now first stop the server, then again run. Debug Spring Boot app. First I post the details, add the detailing list, then update. Okay, my STS is on debug mode. If I get in, then I go to service implementation, and again, yes, I am in which one? Student now. In size first, I think this giving me index 0. So I'm not getting details of student. So it returned me as -1. If value is greater than -1, then throw me exception. Okay. Here it is throw exception. think I had only three details. Check again. First I break cover, remove all the breakpoint from those red button. Okay, run my server, save by post, then update. My email ID is different. I think this is the issue. Okay, I add other detail also. Okay, so due to details mismatch, I get the error. And my email ID is also different, so giving me null. Okay, now if I change another updated, yes, here I can see, and if I get it, yes, here is also I getting the same result. Now last one is for delete. If I delete from the email, pass my email in URL and hit delete, there is method giving me 405 method not allowed. Why? Oh, because I forget to add forward slash. Now if you can again first add in list, then delete. It's time. Now it's giving me success. Student deleted successfully.